if you have one. And if you want to talk about an item on or off the agenda, if you could fill out a slip up front at the table and bring it down here to my young lady to my left, give it to her, and you'll have your 3 minutes. Okay, with that, let's just go right to our pledge. See how you're late, Tony? You got it. Take off your hat.
Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't want the hat on anyways. Okay. With that, could I get a roll call, please?
Chair Algauer,
Here.
Vice Chair Markarian,
Here.
Commissioner Beck,
Here.
Commissioner Brizzi,
Here.
Commissioner Hicks,
Here.
Commissioner Rekstad, and Commissioner Wolf. Thank you.
Thank you. Any public comments, Ben?
I do not see any public comments for items that are not on the agenda.
Okay, can we get approval on our consent agenda and the minutes from what would be October 5th? Is that right? From the October 5th meeting.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes from October 5th.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. It's 5 carry. Okay, I guess we'll move into our first item. Ready. Okay, the first item on our agenda is case number 21-160. It's a CUP.
So item number 2 is case number 21-143, TTM 2415, for a tentative tract map to subdivide approximately 8.57 gross acres into 12 single-family lots with a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet.
And to confirm, we are opening the public hearing. Correct?
Okay.
Yep.
Beg your pardon?
You have to open the public hearing as well.
Okay, all right. Didn't I do that?
Not formally, but you can just say we're
What
open.
is this?
Too much Jack Daniels in her thing. Okay, so we open up the public hearing.
And Maddie, well, you have the presentation for
Okay.
item number 2.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman Algauer. So again, the applicant Western Heights Water Company has presented and brought before you case number 21-143 TTM 2415. The subject parcel is on 8.57 gross acres north of Marybeth Road, south of Tennessee Street, and east of Overcrest Drive. The property is located along a ridgeline with a notable change in elevation from the southernmost entrance to the highest point of the parcel, and it's indicated with the star on the aerial imagery before you on the screen. Additionally, there's an existing unimproved dirt access road through the property, and the zoning district is RS20M, which requires a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet for subdivision purposes. Surrounding the site are other single-family residential land uses, and north of the property is actually undeveloped area within the jurisdiction of the County of San Bernardino, and the zoning of that parcel is SDR-RES, which stands for Special District Residential. And again, on the imagery before you on the screen on the left, the city boundary is indicated with a dashed line. So north of that is the County of San Bernardino jurisdiction area. So the tentative tract map is for 12 new lots, and those lots will range in size from about a little over 20,000 square feet to almost 28,000 square feet. 6 of the lots are on the south side of Ridgecrest Drive, and 6 are to the north. Lots 10 to 12 will have access from Tennessee Street, while all of the other lots will have access off of an extension of Ridgecrest Drive. This proposal is for lot sales only, so custom floor plans by individual future property owners will be submitted through the Building and Safety Department for plan review and reviewed for setback compliance by the Planning Department through that avenue. Drainage will generally flow to the south of the site. So some project design details I'm going to discuss on this slide, including circulation. So there will be 2 points of ingress and egress access from Maribeth Drive into the subdivision. And the imagery on the upper left corner shows those 2 points of access with a yellow star. Lots 1 to 9, again, are going to be accessed via the extension of Ridgecrest Drive. And this will be approximately a 1,600 lineal feet extension of road. And lots 10 to 12, which are on the north side of the project proposal, will be accessed via Tennessee Street. All of those road improvements will be constructed consistent with applicable city standards, and the street profiles are on this screen. Grading will be necessary for this project in order to create developable building paths, as the site is located along a ridgeline, and grading will be constructed consistent with applicable city standards, such as letters of permission if grading will be happening on adjacent property in order to accommodate the development, as well as appropriate compaction requirements. In regards to drainage, a WQMP is required to be prepared for this project, and the site plan notes that each lot will treat runoff individually using on-site infiltration trenches and rock gardens, and again, that is to be validated through the conditions of approval and plan check processes. In regards to utilities, Western Heights Water Company will provide water, and Yucaipa Valley Water District will provide sewer to lots 1 to 9, and then lots 10 to 12 will require RWQCB, the Regional Water Quality Control Board, approval for septic systems. In regards to project review comments received from noticing to property owners within a 300-foot radius, 4 written responses were received and 3 phone calls, with primary concerns noting objections to new development in general with the city, concerns over losing privacy due to the existing grade of the site, increasing traffic on Maribeth Road, and a request for speed bumps and water supply for the project. I do want to point out that the land use district and this project proposal is consistent with the RS20M land use district and would actually accommodate up to 18 single-family lots with minimum lot sizes of 20,000 square feet. And then in regards to concerns over privacy, the Yucaipa General Plan and Development Code don't protect private property views. However, there does appear to have been consideration for some privacy in regards to connecting the Ridgecrest Road through the top of the site and having some buffering so that rear yards within this subdivision aren't directly adjacent to already constructed single-family residences. And on the south side of the development, 2-to-1 slopes will serve as somewhat of a landscape buffer and separation between existing development and this new tract. And then increasing traffic on Maribeth Road, the speeding concerns were noted in our traffic calming log, and consistent with state law, a project does need to require a nexus for additional improvements such as that. So in this case, the applicant is consistent with state law in upholding road improvements that are consistent with our development code requirements that are actually within the development proximity of this particular parcel. And then water supply for the project, the city has taken active endeavors to increase infrastructure improvements and potable water storage. As required by our tentative map procedures, there was a development review committee meeting held on September 7th, 2022, where the applicant and the city discussed draft conditions of approval, street improvement requirements, and water quality management details. So this project did require environmental review, and an initial study and mitigated negative declaration was prepared and determined that impacts could be less than significant with mitigation incorporated for this project proposal. It was made available for comment for 20 days on the city's website, starting on September 29th and ending on October 19th, 2022. One comment was received through tribal consultation as a part of AB 52 noticing efforts, which requested mitigation be incorporated, and that's included as a part of the mitigation monitoring reporting program as a part of the agenda packet. In regards to fiscal impact, development impact fees are collected for any new development within the city, and overall, with 12 new single-family residences, approximately $317,000 of impact fees would be generated through this project, ultimate build-out, and here are some site photos. So it's staff's recommendation that the tentative tract map is approved subject to the conditions of approval, that the subdivision findings are adopted, as well as the mitigated negative declaration and MMRP, and that staff is directed to file a notice of determination.
Any other commissioner have any questions for staff at this time? Okay, with that, is the applicant,
Yes.
oh, you
Mr.
got one,
Chairman.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Could you talk about the traffic issue that was raised by the community? Their concern is that, I mean, I think there was comments about Marbeth being a raceway and other things. And I'm sorry, I heard traffic calming, and
I can
Say that
probably
again.
provide some additional brief context and then refer you to Katrina in the engineering department as she handles the traffic calming log. So it's my understanding that details are recorded in this log and then would be validated in the field via on-site investigation exploration.
So Maddie referred the concern to me regarding speeding along Marbeth Road. And as we do have a citywide neighborhood traffic calming program. It is a concern-driven program, so anytime we get a concern regarding speeding, sight distance, in residential areas, we address it through that program. So basically, if we get a concern, we, like Maddie said, we'll have to do a field review to determine if there is a demonstrated problem. That might include doing traffic counts or speed surveys, and then I know that the applicant requested speed bumps. I'd have to look at the log and see if there have been additional concerns on Marbeth, but there are other measures that we usually implement before we do speed bumps, so that could be additional signage, striping, speed feedback signs, things like that. It just kind of depends on what we are able to observe on that street.
thank you. One other question has to do with the environmental review on this. When you look at the original aerial showing the location, I mean, we see a lot of things, and staff considers it to be infill, so it's exempt from CEQA. Is there a reason this one got the full treatment?
This is a tentative tract map, so it is for more than 4 parcels to be created, and that is the reason, and it's also over 5 acres, which is the infill exemption that you're referencing.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, is the applicant here wish to make a presentation or say something?
Good evening, Rick Peters, Hillwood Goodwin Land Surveying. We represent the applicant. I'd be happy to answer any questions. If I could just take another step, we're actually in favor of any improvements that would be necessary to make the Marbeth area safer from a traffic standpoint. We've also, through our landscape architect that's been hired for the applicant, have done some studies on blending and adding shrubbery and trees and things like that to the west side of Ridgecrest as it enters the new development to help buffer some of the existing residences. So we're definitely looking at that as well.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any public comments, Ben?
We do have 2 public comments.
First, we have Virginia Gautier.
I live on Marbeth Road. Okay? My name is Virginia Gautier, and I live on Marbeth Road. My family has lived in Yucaipa since 1955. I grew up in Mentone, and I am dead set against about building 12 homes in my neighborhood. Why? Because you will be destroying a nice, peaceful neighborhood. What we will have to deal with every morning and every evening is people racing up and down Marbeth Road to get on the freeway. They won't stop. I lived in Chino from 1971 to 1983, and I have seen developers destroy Orange County. They got rid of the dairies in Chino. They brought down all the grapevines in Cucamonga, Altaloma, destroyed the citrus fruit and in the Inland Empire, and last but not least, got rid of the egg ranches here in Yucaipa. I was told it's called progress. But I'm sick and tired of watching developers destroy our peaceful communities. If you insist on building these homes, then, like it said up there, I want speed bumps put on Marbeth, Ridgecrest, and Overcrest to slow them down, because speed signs means nothing to these people. If the city wants to make extra money, they can bring back our motor cops. We really need them on Oakland Road, Yucaipa Boulevard, to handle the speeders on those streets in both directions. When I travel down Oakland Road, the correct speed limit, I get tailgated, and when they pass me, I am even given dirty looks. We do not need this going on in Yucaipa. I'm dead set against it, especially because I'm Marbeth Road. And I've seen speed bumps on 18th Street, which kind of sort of works. But we really need to put speed bumps. Like I said before, they're going to totally ignore it. Oh, the speed limit's 25? Sure, right. I'm late for work. I'm going 60 miles an hour down Marbeth Road. And like I said before, I just do not want it. Yucaipa was a nice area. Like I said before, my family's been here since 1955, and we have seen developers destroy our area. I'm tired of it. I don't want it. I do not want these houses here because we live in a cute little area. Let's leave it that way. That's it.
Thank you.
Next, we have Cindy Kolosvari.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions about the improvements. I have 2 houses that actually involve this project. And so I'm kind of concerned about, the improvements along the back of Ridgecrest to those homes there, because that's where my properties are. The other one is on Overcrest. So is there something that shows us the improvements for wall work? Some type of, what type of bushes or whatever you're doing that we can look at?
So ma'am, just so you know, the format for the public comment is usually when you come up to the microphone, you want to announce your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes to address your comments. So everyone has an opportunity to say their comments, and then we will go back and forth with the staff to address your concerns.
Okay.
So what is the concern that you have so we can write it down and address
My
it?
concern is, since my properties back up to both of these, to this project about the wall work.
So can I have your name and your address?
My name is Cindy Kolesvari. My address, you want 12101 Overcrest Drive, and then 12235 Ridgecrest.
Okay. And your concern is?
About the wall work that's going to be done along the back of my property and also the side of my other property.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Was there any other comments?
None on this item.
Okay, so, I can, did the applicant wanna rebuttal anything? No? Okay, so with that, we'll close the public hearing, and we move to the commissioners.
Sure. If I may start, I have a few comments. I just want to make sure that, for the record, we had 4 comments that were submitted with this packet, and we reviewed the packet's comments. One of them was Ms. Gautier's comments as well. We appreciate that, and we will address Cindy's comments. But before I get into that, so I just became familiar with Western Heights Water Company. Just for the public's education here, we have Yucaipa Valley Water, and we have Western Heights Water Company. I'm kind of interested to find out that Western Heights Water Company is investing in subdividing lots and building homes. So if I can get a brief introduction on the entity, is this a public entity? Is this a private entity?
So I can try to help clarify. So they are a private utility company. So they are not necessarily a public company. They're not necessarily like, where it's a public agency or anything like that. They are a private company where you have shares of kind of the water stock as part of that operation. Yucaipa is kind of unique. We actually do have technically 4 different water providers within the city. South Mountain, which is technically a city Redlands, I think covers just a very small portion. Western Heights, South Mesa and kind of the Calamasa jurisdiction, and then Yucaipa Valley Water District, which is a public agency. So kind of a unique element there. One thing I did want to note as well, just as part of the comments that we did receive, there was one additional comment reference in the staff report, which was with the property that owns kind of a triangle piece as Tennessee Street diverts off. They were looking for access and trying to find some solutions. And so one thing I did want to note is that the applicant did work with some of the adjoining property owners and was able to work through a solution for that property owner as well.
All right. So, and that takes me back to the speed and safety is an issue, obviously, for us here. I know there was a comment, someone saying we get paid and the developers fill our pockets. I'd like to know which developers are filling whose pockets, because we're volunteers. A lot of people don't know that. We don't get paid to be here. We take the time out of our work and our families to come and help make sure our city is developing and planning very responsibly. So we're here to actually be your voice. With that being said, usually if we have an increase in traffic, it necessitates a traffic study. If what I understood this to be correct, on this property line, on this whole property, we are putting 12 lots and they're allowed to have 16. Is that correct?
18.
18. So instead of 18 homes that is allowed to go according to the zoning that we have, we're having 12 homes on there. So I just want to make sure that's clear to everyone that is interested in this subject, especially the neighbors. So property rights is one of a fundamental right in the United States, and we try to abide by that as much as we can in Yucaipa as well. So the owners of these properties, no matter who they are, they can have by right 18 homes, but instead of 18, they're actually making a proposal for 12 homes. So that should help the traffic concerns by having 6 less homes on this proposal, on this item. As far as speed bumps, can we require speed bumps for this project on Marybeth?
We cannot require speed bumps. We can request that the developer have a traffic engineer determine if speed bumps would be warranted as a result of this project. So they have to be warranted, and that's either the developer or the city ourselves. When we put in speed bumps, they have to meet warrants.
Okay, so what warrants speed bumps?
You would have to do traffic counts and a traffic study to determine what the 85th percentile, which is basically an average of how fast cars are going in the area. They have to meet some sight distance requirements. There's a criteria of 8 to 10 criterions that have to be met in order for the speed bumps to be warranted.
Can we require that that kind of a study take place to make sure that the citizens and residents are satisfied, to know that it doesn't meet the requirements for a speed bump?
So, and if I may add in, as part of the traffic calming program, since we did receive that complaint, that's kind of the impetus to move forward with us evaluating the feasibility of, how to address that. Certainly, it can be requested by the applicant. One thing that we do note is kind of the nexus or proportionality is if the traffic concern is there, are they going to be the cause of the speeding? Probably not, and so they aren't necessarily the cause of that, but certainly they can help contribute to that, but we couldn't compel them to do it. But certainly we do have the traffic calming program, which is to take that step anyways, and so that's been entered into the.
So,
And if I may as well, I do want to point out, as a part of the environmental review document, there was a traffic/circulation analysis section. And we have established traffic impact guidelines, and this project screens out of a VMT analysis and a level of service analysis. It's anticipated by the general plan, consistent with the general plan zoning. And so all of that is additional analysis that was provided in that document. And certainly road improvements such as the Ridgecrest extension and the Tennessee Street frontage improvements will also provide pedestrian connectivity within the area too. So they'll be providing sidewalks. And so I think that's another important element.
okay, thank you for that. So that, just so we're clear, there has been a study, there has been an analysis done specifically for this project to make sure that it doesn't meet or necessitate the speed bumps requirement at this time.
So there was no traffic analysis prepared specific to this project because we have adopted traffic impact guidelines that provide certain thresholds for screening out of an analysis. It was described in the initial study. I think it's something of 44 residences being sufficient enough to cause the need for additional analysis.
Got it. Okay, so this project is so small it doesn't call for an analysis. That's what we're saying. How difficult would it be to do an analysis? Just to see if we need speed bumps or not? Maybe a speed limit?
So I think maybe there needs to be a little bit of clarification. A traffic analysis is really based off of the development. If you're looking to address speeding, that's going to be just a traffic-related measure that the city can do on a level, but it's not specific to the project. So we do traffic analyses for speed bumps. We do traffic analyses for crosswalks, stop signs. And so, like Maddie said, this has been added to the neighborhood traffic calming program. So it will be evaluated as part of that program, but it's not going to be in conjunction with this development.
Got it. Okay, so eventually Marybeth will have an analysis for speeding to address that.
Correct.
For the concerned citizens.
That's correct.
Ma'am, unfortunately, the public comment section is closed, but I'll leave it up to the chairman if he wants to.
I have a question.
The only reason I say that, the lady is raising her hand, but I don't know if he wants to address that or. So we're doing our best to address all of your comments in your letter and today.
You know, public comment is closed at this
Okay,
time.
well, I'll ask that question.
Okay, so we'll just, all right, Tony had a question first. Go ahead, Tony.
I'll let Chris.
Sure.
Chris, go ahead.
So do we have a timeline for this analysis? Just so the citizens know what's going on.
So, and perhaps because it's now in the log, that will be kind of the next step is through that traffic calming program. Every year they go through that process and evaluate those different stuff and program it for, ultimately council is what authorizes any expenditure for improvements. As part of the development for this, the way that this project itself, in terms of timeline, this would be the tentative map approval. From there, they would go through the formal final map approval, which includes developing the improvement plans, the map exhibits, legal descriptions, doing all the bonding or whatever those improvements are. And then as noted in the report, it's also a lot sales proposed development. So there is a master developer. So it's going to be probably over the course of a couple of years that this project's actually built out. So it would fall after the initial traffic assessment for the speeding would occur.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. The other couple of questions I just want to ask based on the comments received with the packet is, there's a neighbor that is concerned of the privacy because of the difference in elevation. Someone spent a lot of money on their backyard, got a pool in there, and can we add some shrubbery, higher density shrubbery that would kind of create a buffer of privacy on both ends, on top of whatever wall they're going to propose, which we're not doing any architectural review today, we're just subdividing.
Right.
But can we, as a condition of this application, require some shrubbery to be planted to create that buffer?
So as part of the grading plans, because they'll be creating kind of the 2-to-1 slopes, it will be required to be planted to help do the soil stabilization. So shrubbery and kind of a mix of plants to hold the ground will be already required and implemented. One thing, just kind of looking at the project and kind of some of the, I don't have my scale with me, but looking at it, some of the building pads are, between 30 to over 60 feet away from, the adjoining property line. So there's pretty significant setbacks from where a home pad would actually be developed and then the adjoining property to the south.
So can we require a 6-foot line of trees to be against at least the neighbor where they're at? And they have that backyard with a pool? Can we add that as a condition, is my question.
We could add to the landscaping condition that the landscaping plan include additional, screening for the properties along. I'm not sure which lot specifically the commenter had.
I
But
had
lots.
a Mr.
I was trying to view it with respect to the lot configuration, but certainly that could be a note for the.
Yeah, this is for Rob Courtney's letter. Their address is 12159 Overcrest Drive. So if we could add a condition to create some form of shrubbery to, I know we don't protect privacy, and privacy is not protected, or your view is not protected by our general plan. However, when you buy a property and you rely on the zoning and you start investing in your largest investment of your life, and you want to have a pool in the backyard, we'd like to make sure that we take that into consideration. So we appreciate that comment.
So looking at it, Overcrest, there is no residential lots proposed that would directly abut the lots along Overcrest as part of this development. Probably the only one that's closest would be Lot 7, but there's a pretty substantial, looking at the aerial, pretty substantial distance between the residents on that lot on Overcrest and the proposed Lot 7.
All right, the only reason I bring it up, the letter says that we own 2 properties on Overcrest Drive, the board of this project. And the concern is the invasion of privacy. So if we could look into that. And the final comment I have is about water issues, which is ironic, considering a water company is gonna be subdividing this and building 12 homes. There's an issue with water supply by a Mr. Gray. Do we do anything to make sure that there's any additional water, or is this gonna be sufficient? I know 4 of them will be on sewer and septic, but are they gonna have their own wells, or they're all gonna be part of the water district?
So the septic tank is related to wastewater treatment, and so that'd be these 3 lots here, just because there's no connection to Tennessee Street from the Yucaipa Valley Water District. The rest would be connected to sewer. Water is provided. We do have the Groundwater Sustainability Agency, which encompasses the watershed that we're a part of. And so as part of that review and those efforts, a number of the different city and kind of supported projects that the collective agencies have done has done a lot to promote kind of the sustainability of our watershed and the groundwater. And so that would be addressed from there. One thing I do want to note, so looking through, Overcrest is over here, and so this is Ridgecrest, and so the nearest lot would be this one that directly abuts where there's a natural house, potentially next to another residential lot, but the residential structure is over here. And so there's a pretty big distance between the two, and then the rest, there would be the roadway improvements as a separator. So you wouldn't have a house overlooking directly on top of another house.
And I guess we can get away with not making it a condition, so, Rick, I hope your client can accommodate the neighbors there and make sure that you guys work with them to make sure everybody's happy with that. If you want to come up, you want the applicant to come and address that issue?
If he wants to do that rebuttal, then
Go ahead.
We've had conversation with Western Heights, with Hillwood Goodrow being the moderator, and we have talked about conditions such as privacy, and it's my recollection in reading the information from the letters that the resident was more concerned about the proximity of Ridgecrest Extension and the privacy concerns they had about the road being a little closer possibly than the resident or the structures themselves. But either way, our client is in favor of doing buffers and whatever is necessary to make sure that there is as much done as possible to keep the privacy concerns at a very minimum, if you will.
Well, we appreciate that, and we will take that comment to the bank, and especially me being a client of Western Heights, I'll look forward to them delivering on that and making sure they're a good neighbor. So thank you.
Just one more quick comment. As we've talked with the city and with planning, we're also preparing to get with the landscape architect and other consultants to begin to put plans together that will give us the ability to put these kinds of components in plan form. So
Perfect.
we're prepared to do that.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
with the applicant? Okay, sir? Oh. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a question for you. Now that
Sorry.
we brought you back up.
So my understanding is it's a tentative track map. We're not reviewing landscape or
Right.
specific things related to walls or plants or anything else. So it's basically just a tentative map. My question would be actually to Katrina, prior to the notification of this project, had there been any complaints or any issues about traffic or speed on Marbeth?
You know what, the law goes all the way back to 2008, but I can say within the last year, I haven't received any specific for Marbeth. I'd have to look and see if there were any kind of prior to that. So it hasn't been a recent concern. I think it was brought to light once this project was noticed.
Because I'm off Avenue H, I would like to submit one too.
I think we're good, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The public hearing is closed. So now let's move to commissioners. Do we get some conversation or motion or?
Yeah, I would have done this earlier if I thought it was a problem, but just to reveal a potential or what could be viewed as a conflict. I, too, am a stockholder in the Western Heights Water District, but I think I'm pretty sure the conflict rules don't require you to recuse yourself if you wouldn't get an economic benefit, unlike the hundreds and hundreds of other shareholders from this project, and I am simply that. Also, I sat as a member of the board of directors from 1993 to 2011, So it's been over 10 years since I was on the board of directors of Western Heights, but, so I think I don't have a legal conflict and am confident that my association with them would have no bearing on how I would look at this project. Actually, they're not, it's not even a water company project, it's
Private.
they're developing property, which is, they're entitled to do that, they're a private corporation, but it's not, I mean, water development, so.
So, to piggyback off of that, I don't know if I have a conflict. If anything, I hold them to a higher scrutiny because I'm a client of Western Heights, and I was surprised that I was. I'm a Yucaipa Valley water guy at my house, but my office is a Western Heights shareholder or client? What are we?
I think it's because of the private entity, it's set up that way, but you guys are just, it'd be like
Stock.
us saying, I have Yucaipa Valley Water District for my provider. None of the decisions that you guys are making benefit kind of the financial outcome of that is purely just you're a ratepayer for that agency and they provide the water for that, but this isn't related to that
I
project.
don't think we'll get a discount if we approve it, or they'll shut off our water if we deny it. I hope not, but
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Make it, my man.
I'll make a motion that we approve tentative track map number 20415, case number 21-143, subject to the conditions of approval.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Oh, we got a motion and a second. So any further comment? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
5 ayes. Okay, thank you. So let's try this again. Let's move the case number 21 dash 160, a CUP for a conditional use permit. So who's handling it?
That's me.
Oh, Chris.
Christian will be.
Just 1 second for me to get that set up.
Hold that thought 1 minute.
you
Chris.
guys have any more water bottles down there?
In there.
Yeah,
Chris,
there's
in
in
there.
the fridge, and Maria brought me one, so. Thank you, Maria.
Is there ice cream back there? Okay. All right,
In the cooler. There's a. Oh.
we good?
We were wondering if we could get some ice cream too. You guys are too kind.
That would be nice.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. With that, Christian,
Thank you, Honorable Chairman Algauer. Today I bring before you case number 21-160, a conditional use permit for the establishment of a 2.26 acre semi-truck storage yard with an approximately 200 square foot modular security office at 13650 Calamasa Boulevard. It is, like I said before, a 2.26 acre parcel that is located within our service commercial land use district that allows for Class 1 limited transportation services. The site is relatively flat with a commercial entrance proposed along Calamasa Boulevard, with surrounding land uses including C&B crushing, to the south, legal non-conforming single-family residences, to the east, tire shop and other commercial uses, and to the west, vacant land. The site will feature a paved drive aisle from Calamasa Boulevard for fire access, and parking is proposed on Class 2 aggregate base with 56 tractor-trailer spaces, an additional 22 mixed spaces, and 1 accessible parking space. The site includes an on-site security trailer and 24-hour access is proposed. The landscaping includes a perimeter wall for the entire site on the actually east, south, and west frontages. It is proposed to be a 6-foot tall perimeter tan precision block along the south and west, and split face tan block along the north, or the east, my apologies, with existing chain link along the northern. The site will also include perimeter landscaping with 24-inch box western redbud and sheer pine located along the frontage, and perimeter lemon bottle brush, and dwarf Italian cypress to provide screening along sensitive uses to the south and west, with added shrubs and ground cover on the remaining portions of the project site. Based on the development of 2.26 acres, the project can be expected to generate approximately $178,000 in development impact fees using the current schedule. As an added condition of approval, the city is processing a memorandum of understanding with the city of Calamasa regarding the fair share agreement to implement interim street improvements along the intersection of the I-10 freeway on County Line. And so this project will be required to provide a fair share reimbursement once that MOU is processed, if this does fit the appropriate guidelines for that. Typically, we're thinking that it's going to be a trip generation, which this site is anticipated to have low trip generation. The existing site has a chain link fence and is relatively flat. It has aggregate base on site, as the site has previously been used under temporary use permits for large vehicle storage. As a part of this project, notices were sent to all property owners within 300 feet, and only one comment was received in support of the project. He was happy to see a perimeter block wall go up for security purposes for his property to the west of the site. So it is staff's recommendation that you move forward with measures A through D with that added condition 83. I'm either myself or the applicant could answer any questions that you guys might have.
Okay, any questions for staff at this time? Go ahead.
Christian, was there any, so there's no traffic study associated with this?
This project is categorically exempt from CEQA as infill development, but trip generation is also anticipated to be fairly low, so there was no traffic study required.
Okay. Well, again, that's one of those things we can't really tell. There's 58 spaces for trucks. What's the turnover? But, so you're talking about the share would be in those on and off ramp improvements at the freeway, and that was estimated at 1.2 million?
That's correct.
Right. So there's no percentage that you know of at this point that's yet to be determined, or?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And how would that be determined?
That is a memorandum of understanding that's being processed through the city engineer and being negotiated with the city of Calamasa. So
Calamasa.
I know that those numbers are getting close, but they're still soft and not able to be shared yet.
So part of it is, as discussed when we did the Transwestern warehouse project, was some of these projects, in order to address the deficiency of the intersection, is to look at some of the projects that are coming through that may further exacerbate those conditions, is making sure that they're part of their fair share agreement. And so we're just working through, at this point, kind of what that trigger is and if there would be anything. Certainly the scale of this project versus some of the other projects, either in Calamasa or Yucaipa, this is much smaller, but just making sure that we're not letting, large trucks going through that would not be subject to those expectations. But certainly we're still working with Calamasa on those details.
So as far as street improvements, there's no planned street improvements as part of this?
So there are required street improvements along Calamasa Boulevard, but nothing off-site.
Okay, because that 2-lane narrows just before this property, right? And so that wouldn't continue, it would continue as a single lane, or would it widen to pick up that extra traffic coming out of here? Is your...
So I actually believe that in front of this particular property, there is excess right-of-way. So I don't think there's going to be any widening in front of this property.
widening?
No, that's correct.
Yeah, because right... I'm
I
not
know
sure
on just south and north of it,
it narrows down.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, we can't condition them to do the off-site improvements. So if those other adjacent properties ever develop, they would be required to do.
You can't condition them to do off-site improvements?
Well, I can't condition them to do their neighbors' improvements.
Huh.
Okay?
Brings to mind a pumpkin patch.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm interested in that one, but I'll find out later.
And I think it's more what the nexus is. I know Calamasa Boulevard, when you get to, or I forget what the church is called. I know it as Nay Dental way back in the day. Like it tapers down from there, but most of the traffic flow will be going from Calamasa probably to Interstate 10 along County Line Road versus going all the way down to Live Oak Canyon.
Right. Well, no, not Live Oak Canyon, but yeah, definitely the access is through that point. And I know it does narrow right there and is unimproved on part of this, so. And that's, I actually drive that, not every day, but probably 30% of my time I access through that way. And especially with the condition of County Line Road right now, I use it more. But I know there is kind of a weird transition right there. And I'll leave it at that.
I have a couple of questions. So this is not a truck stop. A truck driver cannot pull in here, take a nap while he's in a truck.
That's correct. So this is for, it's short-term storage, but it's for weeks, not, hours or minutes like that, something like that.
Yeah, it's not the I-10 rest stop.
All right, and I just want to make sure, I don't see anything in here prohibiting. Is that gonna be something that's on the business's onus? They have to make sure that they regulate that so no one can come and stay in the truck while it's stored there for a day or two?
No, they will, a lot of times the drivers in these type of facilities stay in their sleeper. And this is what they're used for too, in transition, is for overnight stays to meet their hour requirements when they've exceeded their time on the road or at their time on the road.
So that's what I was trying to find out, because there's nothing in here that says they can stay in the truck day or two or three. So they can stay in the trucks.
Just my experience with it is all the trucking companies will have a lot that's similar to this, where they transfer trailers, they'll pull in, maybe pick up a different trailer that's already loaded. They'll get their rest time in, which can be overnight. So their logbooks will allow them to go again. So these aren't necessarily low volume uses because they're in and out all the time. If you see some of these that are over in Fontana, they're actually quite high use facilities with trucks in and out all the time. So I guess that's why my concern about street improvements on it is just because I'm a little bit familiar with these and what they do.
Well, my next question was gonna be if there's gonna be any facilities, anything other than the 190 square foot office, 2 parking spaces, and 78 truck spaces. If there's gonna be,
No restroom facilities, it's just the trailer.
That's correct.
And the trailer probably has restroom facilities
but not for the truckers.
I do tend to think that the truck sleeping would constitute camping, which is restricted department.
they camp everywhere.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. I didn't see any language in here, so I don't care what businesses do. I just wanna make sure that our approval and our conditions are clear here. Are we approving something that can be used as a truck stop for truck drivers to sleep in there?
So that can be clarified through the conditions. Perhaps having the applicant speak on the project may be helpful too. And then
Sure.
if that's certainly not the intention, then a condition can certainly be added that specifies that. And
And
provide
I
that
don't
detail.
wanna restrict it. I just wanna understand if we're gonna allow it or not, so we're all clear. Because if we are, then there has to be some kind of facilities to make sure these men and women that are desperately needed work for truck drivers that are well taken care of and not left alone there to walk and wander on the street in the middle of the night or in whatever condition, because we didn't require at least one restroom to be there or something for them to use.
Yeah, and right now, those details aren't provided in terms of their site operations. So certainly they could expand additional facilities and combat for that, but that wasn't what was
Okay,
delineated on
so
the
I
document.
just, if the applicant is here, we'll hear that.
Okay, was the applicant here and wish to make a presentation? Representative? If you could say your name and address for our records, please.
Hi, my name is Bernie Mayer with SciTech Engineering. We're located at 8061 Church Street in Highland. I'm the civil engineer on the project, and I wanted to first thank the commission for hearing our project tonight, and also for Christian for helping us with the project, getting it to this point. We've read the conditions, we're in agreement with those. We're primarily here to answer questions, and it sounds like you have a few. And the trucking business owner, Mr. Estrada, is here with us, so he can come down and answer some of your questions that may be specifically related to the operation.
Sure, Mr. Estrada, can we find out about the operation, if you're gonna allow truckers to stay in their trucks while they're storing it?
Good evening. My name is Luis Estrada. No, the purpose of this property is like to just for the drivers when they come home. You know, we usually go, we are a state company, interstate company. We go out of state, we stay like 2 or 3 weeks outside, and then we come back, we park the truck, and drivers go home.
Okay, so if a driver is driving out of state, they can park their truck there. So these are like the Yucaipa, Calamasa, Beaumont, Banning, Redlands drivers.
Drivers, yeah.
And then are you gonna need more than 2 parking spots for them to park their cars when they're taking the trucks?
Usually what happens is like when they leave, they leave their car on their parking space.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, I wasn't too familiar.
Are we done?
How willing are you to provide a facility there as a restroom?
If it's needed, I'll be able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'll help your business. It'll be nicely presented, especially if it's visible from the freeway. And hopefully will attract more business for you so you can run a good business.
Thank you.
Okay.
So just, I'm sorry. can I-
No, thank you, Chris. You have one?
I just have a couple, your business now, are you a contract hauler,
I'm a common carrier.
common carrier?
Yes, sir.
And dry freight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so are you contract with drivers?
I contract with brokers. We have our own drivers.
Okay, so all the trucks belong to you?
Yes, sir.
You own all the trucks and the trailers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so I'm just trying to, I'm sorry for all the questions, just trying to understand the operation, just what little I know about trucking. So this isn't gonna be a, you said you're all out of state, so.
Yeah.
58 parking spaces, you have 58 trucks that the drivers live within a reasonable distance of?
We got drivers in Fontana. I think it's.
But all over, they live
Yeah.
in a larger area, right?
Yes.
So when they come back, how many days are they typically in town?
Usually what they come is like I said, they go home to take their break. Like usually it's like 2 days, and then they go back out like for a week, 2 weeks, and then they come back.
You run coast to coast, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so I think that's our only concern is what the turnaround is on the trucks and how much traffic you're gonna provide. So all 58 are in and out once a week?
Probably. Yeah.
How many total trucks, just out of curiosity, do you have?
How many what?
How many total trucks do you own?
I own 43.
23?
43.
43?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Tony, just so we're clear, I know you keep saying 58, it's 78 spots.
Or 78 spots?
yeah.
Okay. So it's twice as many spots. So do you plan on renting the other spots out, or?
No, so I'll be like for my
Drivers?
for my drivers.
Okay,
I'm hoping I can
Yeah.
grow up, and
okay. I think that's all the questions I have.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have public comments, Ben?
None on this item.
None. Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing. And now we can move to the commissioners. Do we have any questions or concerns?
I would like to ask staff and Ben specifically if I were to require or add a condition for a bathroom facility that would be attached to the outdoor of the 190 square foot office trailer that he's gonna have. Is that something we can do here? Add a condition.
Well, I think it should be sufficient restroom facilities, but again, I don't think it's really clear what the use is. If he has 43 trucks and there's 78 spaces, you know, truck parking's a valuable commodity these days. And the turnover for both traffic and for restroom use, you know, is sure a concern.
So is there a restroom in the 190 square foot office?
No, it just looks like the footprint is pretty open. Perhaps maybe a way to address kind of where they're at is having a condition where there's no overnight stay in a truck as proposed, and then if there is one that is, then they would have to process additional improvements for facilities for those truckers.
I just think you need to plan on that it's gonna be overnight stays.
Yeah,
and-
I don't want to restrict them from having an overnight stay. I just want to make sure they're comfortable. God knows trucking business and truckers are having enough trouble. I mean, I don't mind them having a facility and stay there if it's gated, if it's secured, if it's beautiful landscape. I don't care if they stay in there. I just want to make sure they don't walk out when they're tired on the street in the dark on Calamasa and get hit by a car. So if there's a facility for them to use there, maybe a coded bathroom, one bathroom would make me comfortable. I don't know how you guys feel.
Well, it's a lot of trucks, you know.
I don't think there's gonna be
You know how
78
guys
trucks
are,
at a time.
you know. No, I think it's a great site for
Yeah.
this type of operation because of where it's located.
Perfect.
Doesn't interfere with residential or, my only concern is the amount of trips that you're gonna have, and we need to maybe look closer at what the traffic is off of it. Because we've already overloaded an on and off ramp that I really don't think can sustain a lot more traffic. It's
Well, they
gonna
can-
get it one way or another.
They
but
can take Calamasa to Oak Glen
They won't do that.
if there's traffic. I'm saying, how do you feel about the bathroom requirement?
Oh, no, they're definitely, I mean, as a whole, I think it needs to be looked at, that it's definitely gonna be overnight stays.
Yeah.
If you try to limit overnight stays, then you've got a enforcement nightmare on that, right? So
So
you might as well just,
I would rather add a condition to have a bathroom than add a condition to restrict overnight. I don't,
Yeah, and that
I
can
just
be-
want to see the logistics of adding the condition of a bathroom. I mean, I don't want it to be a Trump Tower kind of bathroom. I just want it to be a bathroom for truckers.
Yeah, that can be the condition, is that a secure restroom permanent facility be installed on the site to support the trucking operation, and that can be sufficient. And then certainly for the traffic condition, the addition of the final condition under engineering after condition 83 that Christian mentioned is meant to capture that concern as well.
Okay, I
Yeah,
love that language.
and my other concern is just the traffic that's coming up and down that road. It comes around the corner right at the crusher next to this, and they're moving pretty quick, and coming off of the side street where the church is, you know, half the time you pull out there, somebody's on top of you that you can't see until you're out there. So my concern would be, you know, you've got a 38-foot half width on this to the curb, and you've got 70-foot rigs pulling in and out of there. You might want to look at the driveway widths and how you're gonna get trucks in and out there without them swinging onto that oncoming lane of traffic too, Ben. Because I know that's a tough area right there. And you've got a lot of width. You don't have a very wide road, and you've got big trucks pulling out. And I know it's a little bit of a problem with the crusher. But they have an angled driveway coming out down that is almost right at the corner of this property. And that angled driveway allows most of the semis to get out on the boulevard without having to make that large swing that's on Calamasa. Yeah, you can, if you look at where the star is on the top one, the black spot just above it is a driveway that they're able to exit at that angle to get back to the freeway.
So I just wanted to clarify that even though there's not road widening that's required as part of this, they will be required to construct commercial driveway approaches. So they won't be utilizing the existing driveway approach.
Right.
They will have to construct the commercial ones with the radius that
But a
accommodates.
commercial approach is 36-foot max, right?
That's correct. But it is a radius driveway, so it does
I
accommodate more.
understand, but still you have, you know, a 53-foot trailer and a 70-foot overall length. You know, for him to get and even use that, you know, you're swinging awfully wide.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you can, you know, you've got this nice landscape area out front, but if you could, and I'm not sure that's even possible, but a wider or more tapered exit that would allow them to swing, you know, without going into that oncoming lane of traffic, because
Yeah, I think something we could probably do is look at some truck turning
I think it would-
configurations and see how.
the safety thing.
Sure,
Like I
absolutely,
said, I
yeah.
think it's a great spot for it, but I know how narrow this road is right here and how hard it is to see when you're coming around that corner. And that's probably my biggest concern, is that people coming up Calamasa Boulevard towards County Line Road, they're flying up that section. We need speed bumps.
Speed bumps everywhere.
Well, we have any other comments?
Can, I hate to delay things, but
Then don't.
I'd really like to see you guys, that's like telling you don't. Maybe take another look at this before we condition it.
Well, I mean, if the requirement is 36 feet, we can require more than that.
Well, no, that's just a standard.
Yeah.
That's
So
a commercial standard.
can we require more than 36?
More than 36 would be out of standard. So the standard commercial driveway
Yeah.
width is 24 to 36. So if you want to be out of standard, that requires the city engineer approval.
Yeah, so I think to Tony's comment, obviously, safety is our concern. And the safety of these truck drivers and the trucks going in and out is, and the business owners, our concern. So if there's anything that needs to be done engineering-wise, regardless of the radius of 36 feet or more, I think that should be considered. I think we'll just make a note of that instead of adding a condition requiring a 40 or 42-foot radius instead of the standard 36.
And the driveway width shown on the plans is 40 feet, is what they show, is 40 feet wide.
Oh, there you go.
So was that approved by engineering then?
I don't believe the plans, well, it hasn't been entitled, so this, engineering hasn't had a chance to approve or review the street improvement plans. Those are usually submitted after the fact.
So we're approving a 40-foot driveway here.
That is what's shown on the site plan that was submitted, and so that could be the direction, is that the, subject to city engineer approval, that they utilize a wider approach to provide the additional maneuver space, and that can be part of the direction. And then that way, there's at least some consideration for the city engineer as they make their final decision of what, if they do go outside of standard, what the impetus is for that.
Yeah.
Makes you feel better, Tony?
Make it 60, it'd be better.
All right.
It's just a tough street. It's a narrow, tough street, so
Are you warm and fuzzy now?
I'm
Warmer and
fuzzy. I'm
Okay. Okay, any other comments from the committee?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Dan, let's hear it.
I'd like to move that we approve agenda item number 3, case number 21-160 for the conditional use permit with the recommendations A through D, and an additional recommendation that would be E as in echo for a secured restroom facility on site.
Just to clarify, as part of the motion, are you including the additional traffic-related condition of approval as well as the potential for the wider or above standard driveway approach as well as part of the motion or condition?
Part of the motion will be the 40-foot driveway.
Well, how about city engineer's recommendation?
Yeah,
About
based on the city engineer's recommendation.
give him a chance to look at it and design.
I could not have made that any worse. Is that good? You got,
Oh, he's looking.
So.
I don't know the wording. How does it read right now?
So it'd be, the motion would be to approve the project subject to the recommendations A through D with the addition of a condition of approval related to the installation of a secure restroom facility, the addition of the recommended condition of approval that was provided tonight related to the traffic fair share costs for the freeway interchange improvements, and then as well as the allowing the city engineer to review and approve a out-of-standard driveway approach to provide additional ingress and egress capacity.
That's my motion.
I'll second.
Now that they've got together on this. Okay, you heard the motion, gentlemen. Do all those in favor?
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. Motion carries.
Hey, good luck.
We are number
4.
Okay, we have tentative, case number 22014, a tentative track map. And what did you have for it? Liked the way it was. Okay, who's on this one?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman Algauer. Today I bring before you item number 4, case number 22-014, tentative tract map number 20531, to subdivide approximately 8.41 acres into 9 single-family lots with a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet, including one remainder lot of 2.82 acres. The project history is that at the regular meeting of August 3rd, 2005, the Planning Commission approved case number 5-013 for the subdivision of 7 residential lots, with the remaining 2 being processed through a tentative parcel map for the subdivision of 2 lots on Pendleton and Highland, which was approved in January of 2005. The 2 proposed maps were adjacent to each other with an exhibit that showed all parcels created, but the project subsequently expired, and the applicant is seeking to re-entitle them under one map. As I stated before, the project is located across 8.41 gross acres and is located along Pendleton and Highland. It is a slightly hilly lot with slopes that generally go from south to north and from east to west. It is located within the city's RS 20M land use district, or the single residential 20,000 square foot minimum land use district. And it is surrounded by single-family residences with vacant residential land uses to the west and a vacant institutional to the north. The tentative map proposes 9 new lots ranging from 20,164 square feet to 27,798 square feet, 7 being accessed through a new road along Highland, and 2 with access along Pendleton. The project constituted of lot sales only, with custom floor plans to go to the Building and Safety Department for formal review. And the site drains to the north with a WQMP trench at the kind of completion of that roundabout that is shown there. As a part of the project review, there were a number of comments that were received with objections to new development in the area, concerns about speeding and traffic along Pendleton and the ongoing drought. Again, they emphasized the desire for any homes that were built to be built on minimum 20,000 square foot lots. And one of the property owners that actually abuts 3 or 4 of the units requested that any fence or wall that was implemented would be a consistent material along his entire boundary line. A development review committee meeting was held on September 7th, 2022, and we discussed draft conditions of approval and the grading of the site, including some of the retaining walls that were proposed. The environmental review for this project consisted of a previously approved initial study and mitigated negative declaration that determined that all impacts would be reduced to a less than significant impact through mitigation. Because of the change in processing, as well as some other minor changes to the site, including the removal of grading on the remainder parcel, an addendum was processed that found that no new impacts or no new substantial impacts would be identified. Based on a net total of 9 new residential lots on 5.59 gross acres, the project can be expected to generate $222,202.54 in development impact fees using the current fee schedule. And this is the existing site. It's a little hard to see the topography, but again, it does generally slope from the north to south as well as from west to east. And so it is our recommendation that you approve this tentative tract map subject to A through D as shown on the screen and in the agenda report.
Is that it? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was waiting for something else to show up. Okay, with that, anyone have any questions for staff at the time? Okay, then let's just move to the applicant here, a representative. You again.
Rick Peters, again, Hillwood Goodrow. Land Surveying has been commissioned to represent Mr. Avtar Gore in processing this project for development.
Okay, anyone have any questions for the applicant or, yeah, or representative?
This is all on sewer and water, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Okay, at this time, we're good, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, public comments, Ben.
There are 2 public comment slips, and so Maria will read them.
Gary Switson.
If you could say your name and
My name's
for our
Gary
records,
Schweitzer.
you got 3 minutes.
And I live on 11567 Pendleton, next to the project, and it's getting past my bedtime, so thank you for hearing me out. I just had some concerns. I wasn't sure about the project, and I wanted to see the road plan going in and out again. I didn't get to, and I have a lot of concerns just for the traffic, because I live in the area, and I think it's considered part of the wildlife corridor. And, you know, there's going to be a lot more traffic because of that. And I guess they're going to put them on, are there half-acre lots or better? Is that 20,000 is half-acre?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think the city was zoned for that, and I think there's custom homes, right? Is that what it said? Okay, that's another concern I had, because the area, I wanted to, you know, conform with the area right now. We live there. I've been there over 30 years. And in fact, it wasn't city when we moved here. We moved from upland, and it was all orange groves and lemon groves growing up, and it changed drastically. And we've seen a lot of changes come to Yucaipa with the orange groves gone and everything. We moved here because it was kind of like Mayberry. And we really liked it a lot and thought it'd be a great place to raise our kids. Now our kids are all grown and stuff, but we're still kind of, you know, want to keep that small town feel. And I appreciate that they're going to put custom homes to conform with that area. And mainly those were my concerns, and then the traffic concerns, because people drive along Pendleton, they pay no attention to the speed limit, obviously, and, you know, they do 50 miles an hour a lot of times. So I listened to the lady that was asking for speed bumps, and that's, you know, I know you can't require that, but it's a consideration. And so I know we can't, you know, I'm for the project in the sense that you can't, you know, he has a right to build on his property. And that's fine, but just take into consideration us neighbors, and it looks like you're doing that, and I know the commission will as well, take into consideration of the wildlife and the existing area. So that's mainly all I have to say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Michael Foster.
Again, please state your name and address for our records.
My name is Michael Foster, 11549 Pendleton Road. And I have to say I don't have a problem with the actual development other than the added traffic. I am in a really bad location as far as Pendleton. It is an area where it's sloped down, and if you add more traffic, I have cars going 50 miles an hour, I have to back out on the Pendleton. And you can't see the cars coming down from Date Street going out, because a lot of cars go out to Oak Glen. Part of the conversation with the city when this came out is that we asked for speed bumps. There are speed bumps already in the city on Douglas, very similar street, and that is to control the traffic going through there. And so my main concern here is that a traffic study should be done. I know it's not part of the development, but it's adding more traffic. And it is a wildlife. We just took a picture a week ago of the bear on Highland attacking trash cans. But anyways, we don't want the speed. The speed has to be, and the city is going to be developing Pendleton and putting a bridge across, I guess, over to Oak Glen. That was the conversation. And that is going to add even more traffic. So we are looking to get speed bumps in, not a high cost, to slow the traffic down. Because otherwise, someone's going to hit me while I pull out the driveway because I can't see them come over the hill. And that was just bad planning when they built the track just like this. We had a track of 4 homes that you guys approved, and they didn't do what should have been right for the street at Pendleton, which would have been to level it out and not have me at a dip. And so it's very dangerous. So that's it. I appreciate your time, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ben, that it?
No more public comments received on this item.
Did we wish to have a rebuttal on any of those? No?
Speed bumps is the theme of the night, you
Yeah.
guys. We're gonna bump it up.
Okay, well, with that, then we'll just close the public hearing, and we can move to the commissioners.
I just have a question on Pendleton. Gentleman's concern was traffic backing out of those 2 lots, but would you do a T-type or require a T-type driveway so that the resident would have the ability to turn around and head out forward since it's a larger lot?
So typically that would be a fire requirement that they have a turnaround at the terminus.
Well, not for the fire department, but I know a lot of the tracks that I've worked on in the past, depending on the street, they require so that the resident can back out of his drive or out of his garage, hit his T, and then turn around and exit forward, so he's not blindly backing out.
So any driveway that's over 150 feet is required to have a fire-approved terminus at the end. So
Right, but this is a totally different thing. This is just for access, not for a 150-foot driveway. It's just for safety for residents backing out on main thoroughfares.
So with the project design, certainly the 2 lots on Pendleton are kind of set up in where the second lot is a flat configuration. So I think to Christian's comment about the fire truck turning around is that lot itself would be tying off on there.
Yeah.
I don't know if necessarily the other lot would take access from that same drive aisle, but they could certainly design their residents to do that. And we don't necessarily have a standard specifically that would require that, but
Yeah.
that could be a way to address.
Well, like I said, the second lot definitely would have a T-type turnaround. No one's gonna wanna back down that long of a driveway. But that property is an easement though to the back lot, correct? Or it's a flag-shaped lot that belongs to the rear lot.
Yeah, and that's consistent with the prior project approval
Right,
that had.
so there wouldn't be any access for Lot 5 to exit that way. I haven't seen it around town, but I'm just curious on that, because I have, like in Rancho Cucamonga, for years, they've had a requirement that any lot that's on a major thoroughfare or a main street where you have traffic coming down, where the vehicle you have to provide a T where that backing out of the driveway can back into that T and then exit,
Well,
nose
like,
first.
Would that be a condition where it's off a collector street or some sort of higher tier arterial street?
I've seen it on like 19th Street in Rancho on a track up there. Every house that was actually, all the interior lots didn't have it, all the cul-de-sac lots, but anything on 19th Street, for instance, and now probably a dozen tracks over the years I worked on up there had those on any of those major streets. So that might be something to consider, everything coming out of the new A Street, that's not really an issue, because you have an intersection more or less there, but because Pendleton is a tough street, and that rise right there. So I don't know the city standards have anything like that, but it might be something to consider a condition just for that one lot.
That could certainly be maybe as part of the condition is that Lot 5 access be provided, like the driveway access be provided off the shared access, and that could be something that the developer could agree to as part of that condition. We don't necessarily have that standard, even comparing 19th Street, probably in that city is probably a higher tier and higher average daily trips on that roadway.
Well, that
Pendleton
was
does, so.
giveaway time, but that's 40 years ago they had them. So that was when the development was just happening up there in that particular area, so. But it might be something to consider, given we can't put speed bumps. There is a process with Katrina through engineering that you can go through and they'll do the study on it. We can't actually condition those because it's a traffic issue.
And I did take note of the concern, so that will be added to the log.
Right. And I think it's legitimate concern for that. But that would be the only thing, is just the Pendleton lot, if the developer would be interested in just, I don't know if you've seen that type, it's, an addition of, 15 foot of concrete, 10 foot wide, so when you back out of your driveway, you can, and then half the time people are putting RV parking on that site anyway, so it really doesn't issue. Just a thought.
Okay.
Well, I'm ready to make a motion. I just want to make a comment on the safety issue. It hits closer to my heart. I don't know, for those of you that don't know, I'm a personal injury attorney, and unfortunately, it breaks my heart that I had to represent two families that lost loved ones off of Oak Lane in the last couple of years. So please spread the word. Just drive safe. I don't know how much speed bumps and whatever speed limits are going to do if we don't spread the, hey, we care about each other in this community. Don't drink and drive. The downhill slopes increase your speed. So just be careful and mindful of that. And I'm ready to make a motion.
Well, then go for it.
I would like to move that we approve agenda item number 4 with case number 22-014, tentative track map, with the proposed recommendations A through D.
I'll second that.
Oh, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Of course not. 5-0. Okay, motion carries. So we move on to our next item, which is an architectural only review of 22-085, and it's a special use permit.
And before we move on to that, I just wanted to say, for all the speakers and all the people that submit comments, we really appreciate that. So keep doing it, keep staying involved, so we know what you guys think and feel, so we can represent you the best we can. So, before you guys leave, I know everyone leaves after they come and speak on the item they're here for. So. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chris. No problem. We all concur. Okay, who's taking this one?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Today I bring before you item number
Christian.
5, case number 22-085, special use permit for the architectural review of a 3,864 square foot and 27.9 foot tall detached garage located on a rural living property at 10638 Lakeview Road. The site is located on a 6.14 acre parcel and is located within our RL1 land use district, which is our rural living 1 acre minimum lot size, also within the custom home overlay. The garage is proposed for extra storage for the vehicles, their RV vehicles, a workshop area, and will provide a craft-workout space with surrounding uses being single-family residences to the north and west, a vacant parcel to the south, and a mobile home park to the east. The site is proposed to be improved with a 9,004 square foot residence, and the proposed garage is meant to be 3,864 square feet. The placement of that meets all rural living and custom home overlay setbacks. It is approximately 62 feet from the front and south property line, with ingress and egress being proposed with a 20-foot driveway. The proposal will require a landscaping plan to be submitted and completed prior to occupancy. The proposed elevations are designed to match the primary residence. It is a steel frame structure with stucco siding and S-tile roofing. It is proposed to be painted with a Santa Barbara finish and mission tile roofing with wrought iron elements, cohesively designed to match the single-family residence, and will be required to provide a projecting element along the southern elevation because of the uninterrupted plane, something that the applicant has agreed to already. These are the proposed elevations for just the garage. As you can see, there are 2 roll-up doors on the front elevation with a man door as well, a roll-up door and a man door on the rear elevation, and the street-facing elevation has sliding glass doors, and there are windows surrounding the entirety of the proposed garage. Here are some additional renderings that have been provided by the applicant. As you can see, again, this has stucco siding with S-tile roofing. Some site photos showing the existing state of the site, which has been graded but not completed construction yet. Some more photos of the site. Through the public noticing, multiple responses have been received regarding the state of the hillside, with a focus on the amount of the site that has been grubbed and cleared, and the effect on the view shed and the wildlife. Additional concerns surrounding the overall size of the proposed structure and the potential for the structure to be utilized for commercial uses. It should be noted that although the majority of the concerns surrounded the grading of the parcels, tonight we are simply here for the architectural review of that accessory structure. This project is further tied to conditions that will require the applicant to provide a landscaping plan and have it installed prior to occupancy, and that further strictly prohibit any commercial activity on this or within this structure. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation that City Council or that Planning Commission approve measures A through D listed above.
Okay, thank you, Christian. We have any public comments?
Yes, we do. We have 3 public comments.
Okay.
Maxwell Woodburn.
You can just state your name and address for our records, please.
And then, just to clarify, did you want to have the applicant provide a presentation before public comment or?
Did you want to do one before?
Or afterward?
Okay, I'm sorry, sir. Could we ask you to
Yeah.
sit right there at the bench? Thank you. I thought maybe he was just gonna, okay. Jumped the gun. Sorry about that, Brad.
Good evening, Honorable Chairman Algauer, Brad Robertson, Project Manager, Designer, and I'm here representing the Buas, their property at 10638 Lakeview. Also, our civil engineer, Bernie Mayer, is here. First of all, I'd like to state that I appreciate you and your review of our project. But first and foremost, we're only here for the architectural review. I believe there will be some comments made about other items. Those items, such as grading, have been approved, submitted, such. So we're here for the architectural review. It's a grand RV garage with the workshop. My client would like to put his vintage cars and have a little exercise room for his wife, but also their RVs. This structure is a stucco finish with a Mission S tile roof to match the house. As you can see from this rendering here, it's quite nice. We sit 65 feet back from the street, and we're 30 feet below the nearest neighbor's pad elevation. Our building is at 27 feet 9 inches. It's allowed to be 35 feet in this zone. And I'm not sure about the rumor about having a business or commercial business here, but that's not true. My client works off-site. He provides no business materials from his house. His business and projects are completely off-site at all times. And I'll let him explain that if you need further explanation. But we believe this 7-acre site is going to be a private compound. It's going to be beautiful. We've retained a landscape architect to prepare the drawings for the slopes and for the finished product after construction of the house in this RV garage. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
What kind of business is your client in?
My client's in the hospital business,
Oh, okay.
so he can't bring his work from Loma Linda or Redlands Hospital and various. There's no need for him to do any work at home.
Okay. So he's not an RV mechanic or anything like that?
No, he's not an RV mechanic, no.
All right.
He does like to have vintage cars, and he likes to have a nice RV and wants to park it in this building. And of course, he doesn't want it to get weathered. And we feel it's a beautiful building, and it matches the house, and it's going to be a great addition to the neighborhood.
Well, question I have, did you have to do an earthquake study on that property at all? Because of the location, I know there's an earthquake fault right there.
So we do have a structural engineer that is preparing the structural drawings for this building. And like I said, it's going to be a steel skeleton with steel trusses. It's going to be quite stable for this area. Of course, we know everything in Yucaipa is on the San Andreas or the Agua Prieta fault lines, so you're
Okay, sorry, but I know I jumped off of the landscaping, but I was just kind of curious if you had to do a earthquake study, but.
No, that's
I
not
think so.
required for this property. It's not in the overlay. We do have a soils report, and it's been
That's not
filed with
necessary.
our grading plan.
For architectural review, we're okay with that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
So is it planned to be 2-story then, over the workout area?
You know, it's possible in the future, but at this point, because we need the height for the RV garage, but nothing in the plans that we're submitting at this time.
Is this the one off of Lake where the asphalt stops and then it continues on? And then
So-
there's a gate going out, okay.
That's correct. And the homeowner paved that road, which was not required, but he did it, and it's very nice. It used to be dirt and ruts, and it was a washboard such of a road, but he's paved it and added a fire hydrant, which is a benefit to the neighbors. And yeah, it's going to be a great project. It's going to up the value of this neighborhood. It's very nice. And again, this building's 27 feet 9 inches, sits 30 feet below the neighbor's pad, so there's no possible view blockage. And the zoning allows for a 35-foot structure, so we're under that by 7 feet. Plus, we're 30 feet lower, so.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you, Brad.
thank you. Good presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, planning commissioners. I appreciate your time.
Okay. Okay, now we have,
Now we'll draw them up.
now we're back on track. Thank you, sir, for your consideration. Can you state your name and then confirm?
Maxwell Woodburn, 35002 Willow Springs Drive. I've lived here 28 years. And just real quick, the maximum height for a vehicle in the state of California is 14 feet. The bay door on this thing is 15 feet. The maximum height is 27 feet, 10 inches. Doesn't make sense to me. But this project has been a mess for 1.5 years. They have stripped approximately 6 acres of all vegetation, creating dust when it's hot and windy, erosion when it rains. The perimeter barrier is not maintained and is not effective. It really puzzles me how this can even be allowed. I told David Fredborg on 2 occasions about the dust while they were grading and believe he addressed the dust and other potential violations. The grading was 7 days a week and 12 hours a day with ineffective dust control. Soon after talking to David, I observed code enforcement at the site taking pictures, so I assumed there were violations. Immediately after code enforcement was there, a perimeter barrier was put up and erosion berms were graded into the dirt. During the 1.5 years, it seems the property owner has been willing to ignore city code and be discourteous to neighbors by not maintaining the construction site. Even now, when it's dry, the wind blows and produces noticeable dust. When it rains, the mud covers the street, and when they clear the mud, some of the mud is pushed over the edge into a wash that leads to Yucaipa Regional Park. And I have pictures of it right here. So when he wants to build a large garage and shop, I doubt it will be used only for the stated purposes. I do not understand why the building will house personal cars must be 27 feet, 10 inches high and have a 15-foot bay door. I suspect he will store or repair other equipment in the shop, ignoring the city's request for commercial use only. I have been in contact with the California Department of Fish and Game. They had an environmental scientist come to the site on October 31st. He said the city had dropped the ball as far as CEQA was concerned, and the city must be held accountable. And I have the people I've been talking to, if you wish to have their names. My last issue is there are federally protected bald eagles, a male and a female, in the trees northeast of the property at 10600 Lakeview Road. They are less than 660 feet from the site. They're about 330 feet from the site. They are protected. The eagles have been there for years. I have also contacted Fish and Wildlife Service and have not. Can I continue? I have 30 seconds left.
Go ahead, finish up.
Okay. I have also contacted the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service via email. I have not received a reply yet. I have informed David of the bald eagles. I also informed Christian Farmer of the bald eagles, and he said he was not aware of their aware that they were there. And that's all I'm gonna go right there. So basically here, I took these pictures yesterday morning. There's a male and a female bald eagle on the edge of this property. This is standing at their driveway looking towards the bald eagles, and I circled the bald eagles in the tree right there. It's less than 1/8 of a mile from the bald eagles to the driveway. Fish and Game, if it's within 660 feet, they have to have a special permit called an Eagle Take Permit. This is the road where they shovel mud off into the wash that leads to Yucaipa Regional Park. You can go there and see it. I took this picture this morning. This picture is of the perimeter barrier. It's not maintained, it's broken, it does not work. He's ignoring code. And it's been like that for months. You can see the weeds growing up around it. He doesn't maintain the site. That's why I don't believe him when they're putting in this huge garage.
Okay, thank you, sir. Well, what we can do is we can get somebody from
Yeah,
staff
and
to
if
go
you
out
don't
there.
mind, go ahead and give these pictures to the staff and,
Yeah.
and we'll address it. Thank
Give
you
to
so much.
Christian.
Yes,
Thank
He'll
you so
handle it,
much.
a good man.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir. With that, Ben, we have any more?
Next, we have Todd Stewart.
Again, sir, say your name and that for our records, please.
My name's Todd Stewart. I'm a resident of Willow Springs. My address is 34998.
Please speak into the mic. It's being recorded, that's why.
My name is Todd Stewart. I'm a resident of Willow Springs. My address is 34998 Willow Springs Drive.
Okay.
So I'm very upset right now with the way the city's handled this and the way that Mr. Buis has graded his site. This gentleman here that came up with the beautiful pictures, they didn't grade the way I saw their approved grading plan. Nowhere did it show anything to the city that they were going to completely demolish all usable brush except for the most steepest angles. And he did that so he could steal that dirt and build his pads. And he rushed that. We couldn't sleep. We breathed dirt for weeks. Then after he rushes to get it done, it sits for 1.5 years. Nothing's done. Nothing. Maybe a little bit here, a little bit there, nothing. Then they give me a notice, 10 days. Okay, forget about the view. Forget about the fact that each and every one of us citizens who love Yucaipa and love the wildlife paid extra for that view. I don't care, but it's just such disrespect to us. On top of that, I'm looking exactly right now at the grading plan. That gentleman right there, I don't mean to embarrass you, sir, but you said that the grading plan was all approved. Yes, but that's not what that gentleman did. He completely removed all the dirt from that site, and that's not what was approved. There should be a slope, there should be slopes clearly saying exactly what's going to be moved on that lot. It is not. So what he did was he demolished it. So I've already, and excuse me for being excited, but this has really upset me, and I've had almost no time to prepare for it. I'm actually developing one myself. So if this gentleman would have done all this quickly, we wouldn't be here. If he would have graded according to plan, his pads are up higher, fine. I didn't have a problem with that, but he let it sit forever. Then we get this surprise. He wants to build something the size of a warehouse. It may be, like this gentleman said, 80 feet lower than the guy next to him, but it's right in the way. It's right in the way of every single one of us, Noah's Ark. So, this is what I'd like to suggest. I don't want to mess with this, but there's some serious issues here with the way they classified this. The city seems to think category C exemption. It started that way. Very little grading, but when you look at the extent of the butchery of that lot, there's got to be impact there, okay? So, as Mr. Woodburn brought up, 40% of this narrow canyon, this canyon is the only canyon that allows any wildlife during drought to drink at Regional Park. 40% of that is cut off. We don't see deer, we don't see mountain lions. Even the mice have disappeared. It's a strange anomaly, okay? Plus, as Mr. Woodburn said, all that silt, the silt guard's been down, it washed all into that stream. Admittedly, it only flows during the rainy season. that's going to affect the trout. It's going to do a lot of damage. I was told, you know, I've had as much cooperation by the gentleman with the city. Will you let me finish? I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, go wrap it up. Make it quick, please.
I spoke with the city. I did everything I could to get in as much information as I could. So we believe that what started as a small grading exercise, the city wasn't aware of what was being done. And because of the impact now, we're proposing that since this man let this job site sit so long, a permit's generally allowed for a year, that it be resubmitted, and then they start an initial impact study and let independent agencies decide if this is a negative impact site or not. There's just too much going on, okay?
Yeah.
I think to protect the city's interest, they need to take a look at what's been done there. Now, hey, look at, if nothing's wrong, great. Let them go ahead and build, but get to it. I mean, a year and a half, when I build job sites, you submit plans and you submit grading, you get it done. You don't let it sit and blow dirt all over everybody and affect the wildlife. It's such a disrespect to the wildlife, and he's been inconsiderate. So, I mean, just get it done. As far as this giant building, I build RV garages all the time. The largest we build is a double wide. That's 32 by 70. That's half the size what he wants to build. Plus, he wants a gable roof. Every single one that I build is hot mopped. It's got vents. That would flatten it out at 20. I don't know what's going on with that building, but it's doubled the most massive RV garage I've ever seen. And that's from my experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Next time, if you can be a little more passionate about what you're presenting.
Oh, man, it's just, you know, this was dumped on my lap and I'm
No,
busy. I'm
we
not feeling
appreciate.
well, I mean, it's just
and
irritating
listen,
to me.
and not only you, but Mr. Woodburn and Mr. Stewart, we appreciate your passion, but we always encourage you to your neighbors. This is Yucaipa, you guys. We love each other. We want to make sure that everybody is being a good neighbor. So we'll hash out as much as we can. We're not counselors or therapists. We're planning commissioners. So we'll do our part. Chairman, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. Any more public comments?
Yes, next we have Lance Gordon.
Name and address for our records, please.
Okay, Lance Gorton. I live at 34994 Willow Springs Drive.
I'm sorry, sir. Lance, what's your last name?
Gorton.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So living example number one of a speed bump here. I honor and respect the freedom we have in this country to get a piece of land and turn it into our own and enjoy life there. When I first saw this project going, I was a little bit surprised because it's right in the heart of, right next to the preserve. It's a beautiful rural area. The view is why we bought the property and have paid extra for that view. The grading, I never understood why they completely removed the brush. You need to go out and see the site to understand that. I'm not sure what the plan was there, but it's kind of turned into a mess. Then to find out that the building they're going to put on there is described here as a metal storage bin or storage garage to be used as a shop, your words, bigger than this building. That's really out of character. I can't imagine a more inappropriate project in an area like that where really what sells that whole area is the view. I can see the regional park, lake, we have the eagles, we have a lot of things that aren't in your code or talking about architecture per se, but it seems very, very out of character to me and would dramatically affect our view. You talk about the property being, he talks of one property neighbor, oh, it's 30 feet below. He didn't give any consideration to our entire area of homes along that area that look directly at this every day. So that was a little disingenuous. So yeah, it's concerning, and I think we're looking for compromise. The size of the structure, the height of the structure in particular seems just inordinate, and the grading and the degradation of the indigenous plants is just, I don't understand it. I think people need to go out and take a look at that and make sure that there's a plan to have that resolved. So there's a lot of concerns, a lot of different things that we're looking at, so I'll try and keep it, short and simple.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much.
Okay, with that, that's all we have for public comments?
That is correct.
Okay, so what I'm gonna ask is, Brad, would you want to come up here and address some of these issues?
Yes, members of the Planning Commission, I'd like to address the most important fact tonight. We're here for architectural review of this building. Our grading plans were prepared by Site Tech, Bernie Mayer, civil engineer. The plans were submitted to the city. They were approved. A week ago, we had an inspection for the fire lines because we have to put on-site fire utilities. This, these comments are from people that aren't even on Lakeview. This Willow Springs, I believe if you could pull up a vicinity map, we could give you pretty much an idea. I'll kind of point it out. This is our RV garage pad that's been graded. The house pad is up above. These folks live over here.
Brad,
Yes,
I'm gonna get you,
I need a laser.
yeah, that way we can pick up your.
Okay.
Yeah, so just speak into the mic, please, Brad.
I'm sorry. I
It's
just
okay.
want to clarify the location.
Sure.
Thank you, Ben.
Let me see how this thing works. All right. Oops.
The top button is the one that does the laser pointer.
All right, top button. Okay, there it is. Okay, so here's our site, RV site right here. Pad location, pad elevation, 30 feet below the nearest adjacent neighbor. That person isn't here making a comment, so I'm assuming that the closest neighbors aren't having a problem with this project. The people that are live in this area right here, okay? This right here, okay. So you are probably 100 feet in elevation below this because this drops off considerably. There's no way I'm blocking your view with this 27-foot high garage. The garage is 27 feet high at the top of the ridge. The doors are 14 feet high, and the plates are 16. Anybody that's built, like you, sir, said you've built RV garages with flat roofs. Well, we're not going to put a flat roof on this.
If we can ask you to address us
I'm sorry.
and not the
Sorry.
public, please.
Sorry, sir.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
sir. So I wanted to give you an idea where the complaints are coming from, even though we're not here to review or ask for a permission for a grading. We already have it by the Building and Safety Department, the Fire Department. The brush that was cleared from this site, it was a
First of all,
fire.
Brad, if you can hold it, Ben, we're dealing
We're dealing with something we shouldn't be.
about grading. This, we're not here. I mean, can we even hear this or?
So
and
before you
perhaps-
answer, Ben, I'm so sorry. I'd like to hear this because we're talking about the totality of the project. And if there were instances with grading, and Brad, I appreciate all of your comments, but I'd like to hear from the property owner if we have a concern from previous activities. The concern is, could we have these issues with this activity if we were to approve this project?
Well,
Okay,
That's my concern.
Excuse me, Ben, you want to rule on this or what are we doing?
So I think it is important to maintain the separation that a lot of the issues that are being presented are certainly not to minimize those issues. Those certainly have certain implications that need to be dealt with through our inspectors and code enforcement. That isn't necessarily what the review is of this particular action. It's really just in regards to that detached structure. And so as part of that, it isn't necessarily the grading plan or those elements isn't a part of what the Plan Commission is looking at in their purview today. Certainly, as part of the structure size, those are elements, those comments and concerns, and the visibility or kind of the architectural detail certainly is part of the purview. But maybe some of the other more global issues That isn't something that the Plan Commission is gonna be able to weigh in on anyways or provide direction on enforcement. That would be through the other channels and making sure that, and it sounds like the neighbors have initiated that in terms of both reaching out to the city as well as other agencies in regards to maybe those steps that the property owner did, but not necessarily germane to just the special use permit review.
And I appreciate that, Ben, but from what I gathered from these three comments is that there is a sense of a failure on part of the city to respond to some of the concerns. So we can't keep taking steps forward if there are steps in the back that have not been properly addressed. If you want my opinion, I'm not gonna approve this project tonight.
Well, all
I
due
wanna-
respect, sir, may I also let you know that this notice of public hearing, per the Brown Act, State of California, it has to be noticed 72 hours in advance for the topics. And we're only here tonight for the architectural review of this structure. And if I could just address the structure, and if you could, with an open mind, hear me out.
Sure.
These issues, they were noticed per the law, 300-foot radius of all the neighbors. They were noticed only for the architectural review. We've already had our grading plan en route and in the process. But if I might add, part of the delays nowadays, it takes almost a year to get through Edison. And we're learning that now. And a lot of it has to do with the COVID or whatever. So just a year after you get the grading plan, you're still working with Edison. So you have to have unfinished portions. But so our thoughts were we're still moving forward with the custom house, which has gone through the review process. And we'll have subsequent permits on that. But this RV garage is what we're here to review tonight. And if I could just explain the height, we have 14-foot doors.
Before you explain the height.
Yeah.
There was a comment made and pictures shown for a pair of bald eagles that are federally protected.
Can I show you where they live? Right now?
Sure.
I'll show you. Right here, on these trees, these are deodar cedars. They're old growth.
So
This is on the adjacent property, the neighbor's property. This is our location that we're talking about tonight, okay? The bald eagles come here in the afternoon. They fish up here at the lake, at the reservoir, but this is the neighbor's property.
All right, so you've addressed that. You're
We're
aware
not
of it.
disturbing the eagles, which are right here. But I asked the commission to understand the notice of public hearing, which clearly states, this is our proposal, case number 22-085, special use permit for the development and architectural review of a garage to be used as shop and storage. That's all we're here for. I'm sorry that we had to listen to this because we did not know any of this until within the last 3 days when this notice for our architectural review went out. We had no idea in the last year that there were any heartaches or complaints. But as in the last couple of days, and I will tell you that I find this to be pathetic, that these people are calling code enforcement, calling about this. They're finding anything they can to do to stop my client from enjoying his real estate and his rights to build on his property and to have an RV garage. That's it, and that's all we're asking for. And I thank you for your time. I appreciate it. If there's anything else I can answer. But this has turned into something that is not even necessary to go to Planning Commission. We're only here for the RV garage. And I appreciate that. If you can see that, I would appreciate a yes vote so we can move forward with our project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brett. Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing. and we'll move to the commissioners.
No, sir, you cannot. So thank you so much. We appreciate you guys coming out. Again, this is not a back and forth session. We have the protocols
Right.
and procedures to follow. We have homes to go to and families to go to, and we appreciate your time. And we appreciate your comments. So give us an opportunity to address them.
Okay, let's get back to the commissioners. Okay, would the commissioners,
We're going to address that. So give us a chance.
well, let's have the commissioners address the, the architectural review that's in front of us.
Well, so on the architectural review, let's start with the bald eagle issue. Is the city and staff aware of the bald eagles, and have we done what we need to be doing to protect bald eagles?
Well, that's Fish and Game.
So they would be, yeah, certainly the Migratory Bird Act is through the federal agency, and so that would be through that protocol. In regards to the special use permit, the detached garage is at the southern edge of the property, and then certainly the Eagle's Nest is on the far north end. So in terms of the purview of the special use permit itself, the distance exceeds at the 660 feet that was referenced before. And so that's, as part of this particular application and where we are at tonight, that is the lens that's being viewed for this application.
All right. Could you repeat that, sir? It's recorded. You guys can go on YouTube and see it. All of his comments are recorded. So just go to YouTube's Planning Commission, City of Yucaipa on November, 2nd, we are right now, and you can see it or hear it. So that's my first question, and if you guys have looked into it and you know about it, then that's great. As far as a special use permit, we've approved a few RV garages. Is it fair to say this is the largest one that we've seen?
No.
No, not by far.
Have we approved a bigger RV garage, more than 4,000 square feet?
Yeah, there's been a few that are larger. Certainly, the larger ones predominantly have been in the Norpinch area, and then there's been some that are taller. So I think there's another one off like Hawk Ridge or in that neighborhood that's like 31 feet or so. So there's been
31 feet, 2-story with an ADU in it.
In it? Okay. All right, so the only reason I asked that is to put all of the residents' minds at ease that as much as we'd love to see certain things happen, we are limited to what the law allows us to restrict any citizen, including yourselves, when one day you have a big lot and you want to do whatever you want to do, to what they can and how they can enjoy their property. So if the bald eagle issue is close to my heart, I would never have imagined myself to care for bald eagles or bees, but sitting on this planning commission, you learn so much about how important it is to take care of our natural habitat and the character of our city. With that being said, if it meets the requirements of where it's sitting, with the consideration to natural habitat, if the grading is being taken care of, and I understand the staff's representation that the grading issues are being handled, if code enforcement is aware, the city inspector is aware, I don't think there's much more we can do to stop or delay anything. Is that correct, Ben?
So those would have to be resolved kind of separately from this particular action, but certainly that resolution will still be required through those procedures.
All right, so it's on the city's radar. If there's anything that's being delayed excessively, now all of us went through COVID, and so did this gentleman in his home and whatever he had to do. The delays some of them are outside of our control, unfortunately. With that being said, with the height and the size being something, I don't remember something as large as this, but if we have, then that's something that he can enjoy. Now, does the house already exist?
So the house is not constructed. So that's part of the contingency for the project is certainly this is a detached structure to the primary use of the house does need to be in place concurrent or before the garage is constructed.
Okay, so has the planning commission approved the architectural review of the house, or we haven't seen that yet?
So as a typical approach, if it's a custom home or a single lot sale kind of development, the Plan Commission does not review the construction of the house unless it is of kind of a unique design. So the barn dominium being kind of the one single custom home that was reviewed by the Plan Commission. But typically, any other single-family residence does not trigger Plan Commission review.
So what stage is it at?
Excuse me, sir.
Sir,
No,
let us do
Just
our
be
part.
respectful for
Yeah.
everybody else.
We're doing our best. Just give us a minute.
Okay, please, people.
So we're
Let us do our jobs, and we're
yeah.
working at it.
Trust me, I have a few questions. Just sit tight and hear us out. So going back to the house, where is the house construction in the process? What steps are they at? Has it been approved or not yet?
I don't think the home plans have been.
All right, guys, just be patient, please. Just let us take a deep breath.
Okay, so the building plans are in the building and safety process right now. So they have not been approved structurally or that stuff, but it is in the process.
All right, so one of the conditions of approving this project is that a house is constructed and done and it has a permit to be resided in.
That is correct.
Okay. And do we know the size of the main house?
9,400 square feet,
94?
I believe so, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's a large house with an attached garage. So it does identify in the staff report 6786 square feet for the main residence habitable square footage.
Total.
67?
And then with the garage, so the
6786, got it.
Nine total was what I heard, yeah.
All right, and there's no requirement that a detached structure be within a percentage of the main house, or does this meet that?
So there isn't, the way that the findings are set up for a special use permit is that the structure needs to be subordinate to it. Certainly as part of future action, if the Plan Commission wants to provide recommendations on more specific design requirements for what triggers a SUP or what may be outside of the threshold can certainly be explored. But right now, as part of the 4 findings, really is just looking at the subordination of that structure. So certainly if someone's building a 1,200 square foot house and a 6,000 square foot garage, then that would be a sign of, okay, something doesn't quite add up on this. But in this case, it's the garage is smaller than the residence.
Okay, yeah, so we have approximately 7,000 square foot home and a 4,000 square foot detached garage. And I just wanted to note, there were no comments in the packet, correct? No comments were made within the packet that you guys presented to us? We
No
have
comments had been received until about 4 days ago.
I'm so sorry, say that one more time.
No comments had been received until about 4 days ago.
Until about 4 days ago?
About 4 days ago.
All right, I think that answers all my questions. I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. What about the other commissioners? Bart, you've been sitting there quiet? Yeah.
Just to make sure I understand what lane we're in here, we're strictly here looking at the appearance, right?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I have
Tony?
One, my understanding is, both sides, the nesting of the bald eagles is not at that location. That is a perch area that they use while they're fishing at that upper pond. I know there's a lot of following of that pair of eagles and where they actually nest at. So, you know, how that does or does not play in it, like you said, that's fishing game. As far as the architectural review on this project, I think it's in line with what we've approved before. And again, the grading doesn't come into it. And folks, I would just say, I have several projects going on And I do know that I have projects that have been held up over a year by Edison Service, and I can't get temporary meters so that I can build. And I understand your frustration on that. I will also say to the applicant that the presentation was probably one of the most adversarial that I've actually witnessed from the architect towards the residents. And I would hope that you folks would all try to get together and talk a little bit and try to work through some of these issues. But that all said, I've got for the portion that we're here to do tonight, we have to approve just the architectural review or vote on it, so.
Just before,
Richard, you have something you want to say?
yeah, if I may, just one more thing. Landscaping, what kind of landscaping is this special permit gonna require? I'm sorry, I don't see anything about landscaping.
So as a part of the primary home and as an added condition for this, due to some of the concerns of the neighbors, there have been conditions of approval that specifically call out a landscaping plan to be submitted and reviewed by our landscape architect through the city. Additional requirements will require that landscaping is implemented and in place prior to occupancy of that structure. Kind of going off of that, it wasn't mentioned tonight. I'm sure maybe schedules ran a little tight. I know some of the neighbors were hoping to see native seed used and native landscaping used. So as an advocate for them, I'd share that with you.
Okay, so that's gonna take place before the main house is permitted to live in, not before this is done, right? Is that how I'm understanding you, Christian? I'm sorry.
As part of part of it is with the grading, because they do have some of those exposed slopes, they'll have to do some sort of plantings for the soil stabilization as part of the certificate of occupancy for the house.
Okay. Yeah, and I just want to echo what Tony said. This is Yucaipa, and we treat each other with respect even when we disagree. So I hope as neighbors, you guys, we're getting into the holiday season. We're very blessed. This is first world problems we're having, but let's get together like Tony said. Brad, I encourage you to reach out to the neighbors. After you're done with this project, you're gonna be gone, but your clients are gonna have to live in this town. So please think forward, make sure that they're welcomed, they love and enjoy their beautiful home that they work very hard to have, and whatever toys they're gonna have in their nice, oversized RV garage.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, we've heard from all the commissioners. Do we have some sort of a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve agenda item number 5, case number 22085, the special use permit and architectural review with the recommendation from staff of A through D.
I'll second that.
Richard, we got a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 5. Okay, that ends this one. What do you have, Ben? Any information, or when's our next meeting?
We will probably have one for November 16th. It will be relatively light, but there's a few things that we're just trying to wrap up before the end of the year. And so look forward to seeing you guys. And again, want to do the shameless plug that if you're interested in serving on the Plan Commission again, feel free to submit your service request application in, and certainly that will be presented for the future city council on their December 12th meeting, so.
Okay, gentlemen, you're adjourned, and thank you. See you in about a month.
Thank you. Hey, and